I'm
Are
sure,
you checking on the portable telephone?
of course, we have to check that we are live. I will open the chat as well just to see who is here, who our first arrivals will be.
We've got to, I wonder who it's going to be because
we go.
They've been on, I never know, is it tenterhooks or tenderhooks? We had this conversation with Jen a while back. I can't remember what the outcome was.
I don't really know.
Whatever they are, they're on hooks.
I know. And it's
Everest
typically the
first.
first one to land. There we go. And we hope that a few more will definitely land today. But Dave, it's nice to be back.
Yeah, it is, especially now Dave Squire's here. But yeah, first one in a while, to be fair, isn't it? It's been a little bit of
It's strange.
a combination of holidays and other arrangements, other stuff.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah, but no, it's all really, really good. I mean, we've had a couple of really good things happen.
I don't know what that is, Dave. It just looks like a normal kind of glass award.
Well, actually, wasn't it? Last Tuesday,
yeah,
we had to go and collect this, didn't we?
We did.
So that's why there was no TTI last Tuesday. This is the British Travel Awards for Best Travel Company for Adventure Holidays. Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone that voted for us. It really, really meant a lot. Yeah, and actually,
it was a big one.
I will say that the award is nicer than the other year that we won.
Well, adventure travel is, obviously all of you that trek with us. Obviously, trekking is essentially what we do, but they got rid of that award, so we kind of had to go into the adventure travel arena, which is what we are anyway. Obviously, on a broader scope. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and yeah, thanks, Stuart. Yeah, hope all is well. We got Carl as well, Angus. Yeah, it's nice to see some of the Evertrekker legends.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you are on, do drop a little hello in the comments. Always good to see who has landed.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us who you are and where you come from. Who used to say that? Cilla Black. On Blind Date. Tell us who you are and where you come from.
Oh, this is no surprise today.
Wow.
Did you like that one?
Yeah, no, that was good. That was, yeah. I can't think of another show that she did to carry that on.
I know. You can't think
should
of
we do a TTI instead?
We should.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know it's a bit crazy today because it's been a few weeks since we've done a Tuesday tune-in. It does feel a bit strange, but it's nice to be back.
Yeah.
The Bri, great stuff, mate. You looked absolutely epic in Toubkal. I hope you're all good. And you've defrosted now because that looked very cold.
Nice wintry.
Yeah, Bri, share in the comments how the trip was and certainly how cold you were on the summit because that looked like tough conditions.
Let us know how awesome it was. Yeah, that'd be great.
Today, though, I know we've kind of posted about it, emailed about what today is, but essentially we wanted to tackle, and this was off the back really, we did a Couch to Everest kind of live training session last night.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. We had over, I think it was like 56 people who actually joined us live, which was fantastic. And essentially, big thing came out of it, I think, around like what type of experience you need and which trip is kind of right for each individual person. Because some of them were, at different parts of the journey. Some of them are people just starting out. They've just found adventure. And then some of them are like, a lot of you guys on here that obviously you've been and done a fair few adventures. So really, we wanted to explore that a bit deeper, didn't we, about which adventure is right for you.
Exactly, yeah. And also, I think sometimes it comes down to your own personal aspirations as well. Some people are very, sometimes I think of them as like event driven.
Yeah.
It needs to be an event. So like that could be like running a marathon, getting a medal. And I think those type of people, those people that enter marathons, enter challenges, are usually drawn more to the peaks. You
can feel that sometimes, right?
Yeah. So the usually the medal collectors, they'll love Achilles. Or an island peak or something like that.
Or a Toubkal Bri.
Or a Toubkal. Yeah, because it's an achievable goal with a moment in time that like you've won.
By everyday people.
Yeah, exactly. But we're Everest Base Camp, although you do have that arriving at base camp thing, most people will say when they got back, it wasn't all about base camp.
I think we've both been there. We haven't been, base camp, obviously we've been there a number of times. And it's an amazing feeling when you get there. Certainly the first time, it's very, very emotional. But I think you're right. Like a lot of the experience on the journey is actually, massively important. I think somewhere where we kind of enjoy probably more than that moment in a way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love climbing mountains and you do get that rush. But it almost like, it works a different part of me when I go on a journey. So like Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
I realised the first time I went there, I was fixated on getting to Everest Base Camp, and it was a high five, big tick in the life box moment.
It was.
However, when I got back, I found myself reflecting not just on arriving at base camp, but all of the days along the way. Where when I reflect on Kilimanjaro, I mainly think about summit.
How painful it was.
Yeah,
which is great, but it's different.
Not to say that one's better or the other, but it's a different flavour of adventure.
It is.
Adventure does come in different flavours,
and it's interesting because I know one of the first questions actually, and I think it was on Facebook, someone commented about which is harder, and we'll come on to that around Everest Base Camp or Kili. And I know there's a lot of Evertrekkers on here who have done both. Good to see Marky V back as well. I know he's out in Cambodia at the moment, mate. Safe travels.
Awesome.
Always nice to have someone tune in from abroad. But mate, great to see you on adventures, and it's nice to be back. So glad you caught us. And Wayne, I hope all is well. Wife has had enough of me repeatedly talking about Trek to EBC, so we're going to sign up for Langtang. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Don't forget as well, and I know a lot of you probably seen on the website and socials that it is Black Friday week. I'm sure you probably every other email you see from every other company, whatever you're buying, if you're buying, I don't know, dishcloths to, I don't know, toasters, whatever you're looking at. That's the best I can
You've been doing your kitchen again.
We did clean the kitchen on the weekend.
Yeah.
As boring as it sounds.
I would say, though, that all the other offers are nowhere near as good as ours. Even the ones that might seem similar to ours, they're not actually as good.
It's very true.
And I'm happy to go on the record and say that the Evertrekk's offer up to £500 off some of the best trips in the world is better than any other offer you'll find on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of that sort of stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's weird we're getting to Cyber Monday, isn't it? But anyway, with this week and Black Friday, it is, absolutely fantastic. As Dave said, up to £500 off, especially, if you're looking at going to Langtang. Wayne, obviously a good week to get that booked in.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rich, good to see you, mate. I hope all is well. I've been keeping up with your socials. Good to see. I know that the family life is going well as well. And you've got, Toubkal next, mate. So I know, looking forward to seeing you on the Summit Zone call on Thursday. George, Jen, see you off to the Adventure Travel Show next year. You know what? We've been looking at it. We're actually going to the one in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So we are at the National Outdoor Expo in Birmingham. We did do the Adventure Travel Show kind of back in 2019 was the first one we did.
It's changed a bit, isn't it?
It's different now.
I think it's in a different location, right?
Different location, and we didn't feel, we wanted to do other stuff this year. But look, obviously always here to answer any questions, George. We are at the one in March, though, in the National Outdoor Expo in Birmingham, the NEC. So, we'd love to see you guys there. We will be putting more info on socials and stuff on how to meet us and where to meet us.
Yeah.
But shame we're not at the Adventure Travel Show. We know there's a lot of shows. Like I know there was Kendall Mountain Festival. There's Keswick Mountain Festival. There's so many. There's destinations. There's so many different travel shows. But we found that the Outdoor Expo, having been to a few of them, was really good. Not just about adventures either. There was stuff around equipment and kind of other bits around adventure. Obviously, we're there, so it's good. So I highly recommend you go. And the NEC is awesome as well. I prefer the NEC as an event to where the Adventure Travel Show is personally.
The Adventure Travel Show is every Tuesday at 12:30 anyway. This is the real Adventure Travel Show.
Is that what we should change it to? The Adventure Travel Show?
Yeah,
oh my God,
this is where you come to get all your adventure travel information.
I think all the people who love the Tuesday Tune-In, though, they'd hate to get rid of the name. But Julie from Tomartin, great stuff. I got one of my favourite whiskies is from Tomartin.
Yep.
Speyside, isn't it? So, really good whiskey area. Absolutely love it, Julie, but great to see you on. Right, we'll delve into treks then, Dave, because I know a bit of an intro for 10 minutes there. I know for us, and a few questions last night around okay, it's my first time at altitude.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I go? Which trek do I go on? Do I aim low and go? All of these trips, and I suppose any of them are challenging. When we say easy to kind of difficult, it's none of them are easy.
No.
But which one would you say would be best for a first time? Or is there anything such as? Can you go for the highest one?
Do you know what? I do think that there's no real such thing as there is an entry level high altitude adventure, but there's certain. Having said that, though, there may not be an entry level one, but there certainly is sort of higher end.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't. I say I probably wouldn't. I probably would, but maybe not. It's not for everyone to go and do, say, a 6,000 Himalayan peak the first time they go to altitude, because that's quite intense. There's a lot of skills that are going to have to be learned on the way, and you're also going to have all the normal anxieties that go with a first timer. So, altitude sickness, have I brought the right equipment? What do I need? So I would say the benefit of actually going on a trip first, like say EBC or even Kili or Toubkal, and then going up to something like that is that you do carry a certain weight of knowledge with you to those future trips.
Yeah.
And that is around, okay, so I know how I deal with altitude. I know what I wish I brought last time and what I wish I hadn't brought. So you can actually make that experience of you going to the peak far more achievable because you've already done a lot of the hard work on other trips.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important to kind of build up a bit slowly. Having said that, you do get some people that do, they're absolute savages. They're out, they're training all the time. They spend time in the mountains and stuff like that. And then they go out and do Mera and they absolutely kill it and they get to the top and they don't have any worries. But if we focus solely on those people, there'd probably be a lot of other people that don't get quite as the right advice, which is, for me, certainly, I definitely benefited from doing Everest Base Camp first. And then broadening my horizons. And then
you started off with a challenging one, but it goes to show, doesn't it? And I think we get a lot of. We looked at some of our, some sort of information that we have, and I think it was like something like 60% actually choose to go on Everest Base Camp first.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of how much we promote Nepal and Everest, and Everest Base Camp, and obviously it's where we came from, where we started. So I think a lot of people come with us because of Everest Base Camp. And then go on to other stuff like a lot of you have, or aim to do. And certainly I think we looked at the stats. I think it was 60% do Everest Base Camp first, which I was really interested to hear because in my mind you kind of, I think we're all logical people sometimes, and we think logic. I think maybe because of the education system, the way society is, you always think of logic in terms of heights. It has to be sequential. You think I have to start off at 1,000 meters instead of going to 5,000 meters.
Yeah.
In our brains, that seems more logical, right?
It does seem more logical.
But adventure isn't logical.
No, and I would also say, aside from the experience that you gain by going on trips, the altitude thing is really peace of mind.
Yeah.
Like you still have to acclimatize the next time you go a year later or 2 years later. So having been to altitude before, say 4,000 meters, doesn't mean, okay, I've done 4, now I can do 6.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work like that. The benefit is from the experience and knowing about things like equipment and hydration and pace, and having gone through the motions of it. So the next time you go, you're a little bit more experienced, and then the time you go again, you're more experienced, and it does compound.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are right. Like, I mean, I went to EBC first, so the highest I reached was 5,500 meters.
Yeah.
And then I did Toubkal last, and the first time I attempted that, I didn't get to the summit.
But I think that was more medical, wasn't it? But I from an altitude perspective, though, it was more than achievable. But I think it was more that you were clearly going for something at the time, and it didn't work out. Big lessons, on terms of which was 100% the right decision in terms of making those calls. And it's hard to make those calls because I think we're always fighting pride. We're always fighting like, oh my god, I want to do this. And you don't want to feel that way, but it was the right choice.
Yeah.
But it is it. But again, going back to like adventure isn't logical, is that there's no reason why you can't go to Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro if you haven't been to altitude before.
No, absolutely.
As nuts as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've had people. I know that there are people whose first time going to altitude was to like try and attempt Aconcagua. Which is
mental, right? Isn't it?
It is mental.
That's definitely not logical.
Yeah.
But fair dues. Did they make it?
I don't recall actually. It wasn't. Okay. It wasn't with us. It was a story I was reading on the internet. But what I didn't follow it up. But what I will say is so if you're thinking this is my first time at altitude, what trip do I want to look at?
Yeah.
Aconcagua. I would probably advise no, because there's a lot of skills that you need to have in order to make that a success, experience-wise. At altitude, you'll probably acclimatize as long as you get fit and you're strong and you're healthy. Yeah. You'll acclimatize as well the first time as you do the last time. It's all about what you do on the mountain.
Yeah.
I don't think just because you've been to altitude before guarantees you a safe ascent every time after that. But having said that, there's no reason why you can't go to Kilimanjaro, Machu Picchu, EBC, maybe do the 3 passes. We had one guy, Bruno, I always remember him, he'd never been to altitude before, and he went out and did Island Peak first time.
That's right, I remember that. Was that last year or year before?
Oh, no, that was 2019.
Jeez, was that not?
Yeah,
It feels
no,
like
see,
yesterday.
no, that was 2019.
That is crazy.
I
How time
remember.
flies.
Yeah, it was when we were
Yeah,
in the different office. But yeah, so like, and I do admire that. I love that sort of gung ho, like I'm
yeah.
gonna take it on sort of
He
spirit.
did it as well. Didn't
And he did
he? Yeah.
summit. But yeah, I'd like to think that if you are thinking about what trip is right for you,
Yeah.
think about your sort of mindset, your goals, and the type of person you are, and that'll kind of narrow it down
Yeah.
more so than worrying about what altitude you want to attain.
Exactly.
So I would think, yeah, if you're a traveler and you love a journey and it's all about the journey, then I would be thinking about like multi-day stuff like EBC.
Well, yeah, and Wayne's made a really good point there, and something because talking about Langtang, so I think it's a really good point. What you just to follow on from that was around the journey stuff,
Mm-hmm.
especially with EBC, because it is all about the journey there, as it is in life, right? But Langtang is also such a powerful journey, and I think if we're talking about adventure, we take altitude out of it because the max altitude for Langtang is 4773. So when you get to Kanjenri, which is like the viewpoint. Which I think was one of your questions, wasn't it, Wayne? And really good question as well. And so in altitude difficulty, it might not seem as difficult, but actually in the beginning of Langtang, there's a lot of, because the way the landscape is, there's a lot of ascent early on.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the days you'll have like 800 meters to 1,000 meters in a day. Altitude, that's bloody hard. But because of where you're at, there's not like any villages in between. So you have to go from one to the other. So in Langtang, still not easy, even though it's shorter, even though the altitude is not as high. It's not far off, is it? But it doesn't seem as high. You don't want to underestimate it. But yeah, Wayne, it's a great trip. We had some of our first groups this year actually on Langtang. And yeah, we had pleasure of having, I think it was 3 groups we had there because
Yeah.
obviously we started launch it last year. And we were really proud to support that area because the Langtang Valley has been, it's had a bit of a bad history really due to what happened in the earthquake in 2015, and it's kind of been rebuilding from them, and it's a lot quieter. Some of the Evertrekkers who come back going like, oh yeah, they hardly saw anyone, and that is quite special in itself. To
Yeah.
find that remoteness in the Himalayas is like absolutely amazing. So yeah, Wayne, love to get you booked on, mate.
Yeah.
Let's check that out. And you mentioned you went to EBC as well in November. The biggest issue was the dust. Yeah, I think it was probably more problematic on Everest Base Camp due to Langtang. Just thinking about the landscape, whereas Everest Base Camp certainly has more people.
Yeah.
So that ground is getting hit all the time. That being said, I think any trails you are on, you're going to have dust. It's going to be quite dry, isn't it?
Anywhere at high altitude is a dry environment. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit of a battle that on a lot of treks you will experience. But it's worse if there's wind.
Yeah.
Because then it's sort of being blown up in your face and it dries your lips out and your skin out. But certainly, like anytime you go to high altitude, before you get to like a sort of glacial level, there's always this arid sort of desert level.
Yeah.
And a lot of the EBC trail takes place at that altitude. So yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those things. I will recommend a buff, sunglasses, and chapstick. Those are 3 things I really, really think help.
The legendary Evertrek buff, that's what you need. And Wayne, in December, we do have something awesome around the buffs. All will be revealed in December. It's something that we're doing for charity this year, but we will. I think on the 6th of December we'll be talking about it. So probably next week we'll talk about it on the Tuesday tune in, and we can talk about the how we're going to use the buff to our advantage.
Yeah.
Sounds weird, doesn't it? But to give you a clue, hashtag in the buff. That's all I'm saying.
Awesome.
Everyone be like
everyone's perked up. Everyone's
their
perked
imaginations.
Up now. Yeah.
Great stuff. I'm going to shout out to Dave as well. Dave Rimington, how you doing, mate? As you said, thank you very much. I know. I'm sorry, there's a bit of light shining through, but you can see here's the award. Left it there just as a reminder. This is your award as well as ours. Thank you so much for voting for us. As Dave said, need some advice which trek I need to spend my Black Friday sale on. Will probably be on my own for this one. Well, Dave, you're never on your own. You're on an Evertrek trip.
Has Leah retired now? Is she?
She's probably off doing other stuff. Maybe
she's hung up the boots.
No, she'll be back.
Yeah.
But Dave, let us know, mate. Like what I'm always thinking. Okay, what adventure? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a peak? Looking for adventure like Everest Base Camp, or a peak like Kili, or are you thinking something maybe in between?
I know Dave. He wants to go to Machu Picchu. I don't know why.
I don't know. I reckon you go back to
I got a
Nepal.
feeling. I think he can't go back to Nepal because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want his daughter to drag him around. Drag him up the hill. Because I hear that it was a cakewalk for Leah, and I think I think Dave was had to be dragged. But
Brilliant. Well, one thing I know about Dave is he's very good with Photoshop. Certainly over the years. Oh, he's after a peak. Ooh, that's opened up the discussion then, isn't it? So if we're talking what trip is right for you, a peak. Are you? I mean, Dave. It's always weird, isn't it? Because we feel like we're talking to a screen. But Dave, I know you're there. I would say, are you looking to go back to Nepal, or are you thinking of somewhere else? Because obviously there's a lot of peaks. Obviously you've got Mera, you've got Island Peak. Obviously you can go and do another one as well. Obviously you've got some of the South American ones, or if you want to kind of go for something like Gran Paradiso is one of the ones we do. There's definitely some options, but it depends. I kind of sense when you went to Everest Base Camp, big memories there. Obviously yourself and Leah going out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you did Mera Peak, it's a new area, so I would say.
A snowy peak, yeah. He's feeding
there we
us
go.
one bit of information at a time.
So what I'll do is I'll write him down for Mera, because that is definitely snowy. So there we are. You're in, Dave.
Yeah.
Just let us know what dates you want to book onto Mera then, okay?
I would say Mera's great. You get to go on a different section of the EBC trail as well. But it's not really the EBC trail; it's in the Everest region. But when everyone goes at a Lukla one way, you'll go the other. And apparently the trail there it's a lot rougher, and we've had some feedback that it is more of an adventurous trail to the mountain.
Yeah.
So mate, get Mera. Why not?
Yeah. Well, he's given the okay. There we go. Let's have a chat about it, Dave. Will be great to get you on there, mate.
Briar's just a message as well. He said he's back from his third epic trip with Evertrek, Toubkal weekender. Didn't get the awesome views that everyone else gets, but he did get an extreme weather trekking experience. I know what that's like on Toubkal, mate. At the base lodge, there were 20 groups hoping to summit, but only 5 did due to weather conditions. After returning, the other guide let us know that our guide was one of the best. Shows you get what you pay for. 100%. Who was it? Was it? I want to go with. It might have been Mohammed.
I think it was Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
Look at the pictures. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it was Ibrahim.
So.
Excuse me. Great guide. Really, really experienced guide.
Yeah, they are really, really good. I think. I've actually done. I've done Toubkal. How many have I done? Like 2.5 times.
2.5.
2.5 times.
2.8.
2.8. Yeah. Either way, I fell short on the first one. But the 2 experiences that I've had, it's been crazy. So I went up there in. It was a storm, but it was a storm with some views.
Yeah.
It was just high wind, and it was insane. And the wind chill was like one of the worst I've experienced. But it wasn't snowing or anything like that. It was just It was just wind and wind chill, which meant that it was about minus 25. So I know that that's a tricky one. Yeah. Second time I went, stunning t-shirt all the way up. It was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll send you a picture of the views you missed, so you can imagine what it's like.
No, but I thanks, Bri, for sharing the pics, mate. It's great to have you on another trip after Kili and after EBC. It feels like you've been part of the Evertrekker family for such a long time, mate. But yeah, it was great to see you on another summit. It did look bloody freezing. But part of me was so jealous because I love those. They're my favourite conditions just because of the battle. It's like it's a challenge. And I know, we do feel sorry. Obviously, not many groups made it. But I can see why. Maybe sometimes it's equipment. Sometimes it's the group. Maybe the experience level wasn't there. And some people do call it. But look, I'm glad you pushed on. I saw some of the snow. It looked quite deep as well. So fair dues. I bet physically it was tough. But look, great to see you safely back down after a successful summit, mate. And it'd be good to see all the pics and vids as well. And I know I've seen them on yours, but it'd be great if you can send them over. Be great to share with the rest of the community. Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. So the guide Evertrek, some great lads on the trails. There we go. Di Fizbark is here. There she is.
Yeah, congratulations on another fantastic award. Thank you, Diane. Well, thank you guys as well.
Diane, this is yours as well, mate.
Just back from the 5th Evertrek, Annapurna Base Camp has to be the most beautiful. We absolutely loved it so much. Rob was booked on EBC Gokyo late to coincide with when I met in Nepal. For Island Pete, that's amazing. He'll love Gokyo as well. Yeah. He'll love Gokyo. I think it is one of the things, actually, looking at your pictures, that I thought, I've got to spend some more time in the Annapurna region. I
100%.
think, because it is one of those regions where everyone says you go to Everest first because the draw of the highest mountain on Earth. and then you go to Annapurna because of the draw of the most beautiful scenery on earth.
Yeah.
Well, that's debatable, but in my view, it is. But I'm Nepal biased.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely.
it's funny. Penny's over there, like trying to break.
I
into
know,
the
I
door.
know. She's just come back from a walk lover, so she's like, let me in, let me in. Let me in.
Yeah.
But she'll keep her there. But no, Diane, great to see some of your pictures as well. Yeah, it does look absolutely beautiful, and it's interesting as well because obviously you've done a lot of our trips now to see which one was the most beautiful, and I know they're all beautiful, but yeah, it's really interesting to kind of see your view on it as well, because obviously you've done things like Everest Base Camp and Kili, and obviously you've been out to Toubkal, and you've obviously done a lot of our trips.
Machu Picchu as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diane's done it all.
Oh, hang on, Brecon training weekend.
Twice?
Yeah, twice. I think. Yeah. So
I think it was twice, Diane, wasn't it?
that's one of the highlights. I think was Penavan. I think I remember
Penavan is
saying.
probably more beautiful than Annapurna.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Penavan is I can't help but take it for granted now because I've been there so many times. But
it's nice to be in the mountains. But look,
yeah,
great to see you. Rob's on another trip as well, especially Gokyo Valley. He'll love it. And then you've got prep to do for Island Peak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know you've got winter skills coming up. So definitely. Dave asked as well, do the guides get Evertrek awards? Some great lads on the trails.
it is a trial.
I was reading it verbatim and I realised that's not good. It's like off Anchorman, isn't it? When he reads that, I'm like,
What did he say?
Can't say it out loud. But, definitely. But no, it is a really good point actually, Dave. We haven't done before. It's a really good idea around like awards for our guides.
Yeah.
We have wanted to do Evertrekker awards, as in for many different things. I think it's something we're going to bring in. I know during COVID we thought about it, and we obviously it's been a crazy couple of years, but yeah, it's something we're looking to do because obviously we work with some of the best guides. You guys have been on trips, you know that. We value them. They're generally, excuse me, especially in places like Nepal, where it's quite competitive, as in who you work for. You always get the best guides want to work for certain companies, and it's nice to know that we do attract those type of guides as well.
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign because if you're attracting the best guides, then you're doing something right. So although they don't get any physical awards, they do get rewards in other ways. But yeah, no, and look, going on these trips, especially in some of the more poorer countries, thinking about Pakistan, Nepal, thinking about in Africa as well, in Tanzania and Morocco, you are supporting the guides in that way as well. By going on these trips, you do provide them with a job and with a reason. And, it can be quite seasonal as well, especially in Nepal. Like, the summer and the winters are quite hard. So, we want to give these guys as much business as we can, really, And so, look, you guys just coming on these trips really does provide so much.
Yeah.
We met Cindy and Juan, who kind of look after some of our trips in South America. We met them at WTM London a couple of weeks ago, and we were chatting about especially the Tomakea route, which is still the only UK company to do that route. And she said something really nice, which was essentially that actually just by us bringing so many people to that area, people have got jobs in that area that would never have had jobs.
Yeah.
Didn't she? And it was so nice to hear that, like, and how much
100%.
you're making an impact just by going on these trips.
I mean, they often make like it's like subsistence farming and living. That's how they function. And actually, by bringing tourism, which they want and welcome, it means that they are able to put their families through school. They've got more money. They can run and have a better quality of life, and they enjoy interacting like we do. It's the same with the Langtang region. It's one of them regions where they did have some tourism, but it was generally like it wasn't a lot of organized companies like ours taking big groups there. It was more like backpackery sort of people.
Yeah.
And then they had the earthquake, and obviously now those people are benefiting massively from a surge of popularity, and we've been a big part of that. So it is awesome.
It's nice to hear that. It was one of those warm, fuzzy feelings you hear because it was, we could have done just the Inca Trail, and we could have done just maybe the other ones like Salcante, which was also very busy. But we did choose to do something a little bit different, and we hope, we wanted for our Evertrekkers to have something a little bit different because obviously we also offer the Inca Trail, and you can do that, which is awesome. But there's also the one where you can go and it's a little bit more remote, and it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And having done it, it's a beautiful trip. So yeah, we're really proud of that, and we're continuing to support that area as well, which is fantastic.
Awesome. I've just noted an interesting queue if we can
Okay.
start on them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's from Robbie, who has asked, can we rent boots B2 or B3 at
Hey,
Island
Robbie.
Peak Base Camp for just before or the Island Peak trip in May 2025?
Interesting.
So you can rent them. Our advice is actually to get your own.
Yeah.
The reason why is because the boots that you rent there, they're not brand new. They're, if you get them at the sort of the end of their usable life, they might be a bit ropey. If you get them at the beginning, then they'll be fine. But in terms of fit, comfort, and familiarity, we always recommend to actually get your own. Now, B2, B3 is quite an interesting one. I would say B3 is the safest option for all Himalayan peaks. That's the advice that we're getting back from our teams in Nepal. The high peaks are getting slightly colder, the weather's getting more unpredictable. So having those B3s, particularly the dual layer ones, means that whatever the temperature, you're not going to have an issue with your footwear.
Yeah.
B2 is possible for Island Peak, but it's a broad range. So we used to say B2 was fine, but now you can't really do that because there's like summer B2 boots and there's winter B2 boots. I would say that the B2s, if you get winter B2 boots, they're probably going to be okay. But in order to make sure that you've 100% got the right equipment, I would probably recommend for any Himalayan peak a B3 boot.
Yeah.
Starting with like the Nepal Cube, and then you go on to like the Phantom 6000s and stuff like that. Those boots
heavy duty,
they're designed for 6,000 meter peaks, and you'll go into a 6,000 meter peak.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend getting the best B3s you can afford.
Yeah, definitely. Good questions though, guys. Keep them coming. I know we've got some. We had a few before, which I will come on to now actually. But yeah, keep them coming. Good to see. We got Jerome as well. He's landed. Jerome, here we go. That's great. Raymond, great stuff. It's good to see some of our regulars as well. But we had a message. I think it was from Simon Robinson. So, because I know, I'm kind of going back to the theme really. I know and any question is fine, by the way. I know we always talk about everything, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
But he asked about EBC or Kili, which is more difficult. I know we had this one last night, didn't we?
Funny enough, yeah. So we did the webinar last night, and someone asked the same question. I would say it is subjective because not everyone who goes on these trips are the exact same level. Like to make an actual judgment, you'd have to run an experiment where everyone is the same fitness level, the weather's the same. I would broadly say that having done both, they're more or less the same, except for one day, which is summit night on Kilimanjaro, is harder than any other day on the Everest Base Camp Trail.
Exactly.
I would say that all the other days leading up to summit day are kind of comparable with the effort level that you put out on EBC. EBC, there are some longer days leading up. Like, so when you're climbing up to Kilimanjaro, summit day is crazy. It's over 24 hours. It's in the night. But every other day, it's not a super long day. You're not hiking for like more than sort of 6-7 hours push. Where in Nepal, it's quite common to do a 6-7 hour day. And actually, sometimes people do 10-hour days, depending on which day they're on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say they're relatively similar in terms of the difficulty level. I will say, I think Everest Base Camp is easier to acclimatize on. That can sometimes make the difference. Because
it's gentler, isn't it?
Yeah,
it feels that way.
It's because Kilimanjaro, there's only one way to go, and that's up. It is a broad mountain, so there is more flat than you'd probably expect. But there's not a lot of opportunity to climb high, spend some time and then go back down again. We do that where we can, but on Everest Base Camp, because you're trekking from village to village to village, and naturally the topography of Nepal is up and down, you do acclimatise. In my opinion, a bit easier than you do on Kilimanjaro, and I think
I could agree with that.
Yeah,
definitely. We got Mark on the Tuesday Tuner as well. We're on our way back from Everest Base Camp yesterday. You reached Everest Base Camp. Amazing. Mark, congrats, mate.
Amazing.
Safe journey back down. I've seen the weather out there. Looks absolutely fantastic. But look forward to seeing the pics. Yeah, be in Fariche or maybe in Pangboche now. Heading back down. Did you do Kalapatar, Mark, or was it just Base Camp and done? Were you happy with that? It'd be great to hear how you got on, and great to hear it's an awesome experience as well. Jim is here as well. Jim, here we go. One of the Evertrekker legend. He's been around the block a bit. Jim, like I said to the rest of the guys, as much all of our Evertrekkers as ours, mate. So yeah, thanks for being an awesome Evertrekker.
Awesome. Jerome has said, can you put a personal favour?
Ooh, personal favour?
Can we include a link?
Anything to do with rocks?
Yeah, can we put a link for the TTI in the weekly email we send out? It makes it so much easier to find us.
Yeah, good point, Jerome. We can do. It's always on our Facebook page. So normally I'd say, yeah, no problem. But just literally go to Facebook, go to Evertrek homepage, and we'll always be here. But look, to make it easy just for you, Jerome, I will put it in there, I promise.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it's mad, isn't it, Jerome? How are you still struggling to find us, mate? After so many years, at the same time, every Tuesday. But yeah, no, it's a fair cop. I think yeah, we can whack that in for you.
And
mate.
he can find rocks easily enough. How can he not find our link?
I know, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of these things.
Yeah, but we're, you know, he's been a long time follower, a long time Evertrekker. We will put the link in.
We owe him a link.
Yeah,
That's
we owe
fine.
him a link.
We can do that. We can do that.
Jerome has just said as well, actually, he would say that the TMB was way harder day to day than even EBC or
Really
Killy.
interesting.
I think that's because of the distance and there's a lot of ascent and descent.
Yeah.
So I think just looking at that topography again and the altitude gain, each day is like you look at it like a wavelength. Each day is a spike. So you go sharp up and then a down, a sharp up then a down.
I think what he's missing there, and Jerome, hopefully this marries up, is that with the TMB, it's not as high as altitude, but physicality wise, it probably is harder. It's because on EBC and Killy you do move a lot slower because you're at a higher altitude. So I suppose that from a mindset perspective, and to everyone that hasn't done EBC, hasn't done Killy, hasn't done TMB, Tour de Mont Blanc, which we do the whole essentially the whole route, starting in Italy, going into France, Switzerland, and back in, is that it's the physicality of it, because there's a lot of ascent and descent. You know, I've done a day
a decent trip, to be fair.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. But it is like 1,000 meters of up and then similar down. That is a lot every day. It's like climbing Ben Nevis, you know, over a week every day. So it can be hard. And yeah, so Jerome, I think you're right there. Physically, definitely harder. I'd say altitude-wise, nowhere near as difficult. But obviously, any time you're at altitude, even 2,500 meters can be challenging. Yeah,
it's interesting. I think it's one of those trips as well, and I'm not saying Jerome felt this way, but I think it's easy to underestimate the Tour de Mont Blanc because it's so familiar. It's France, it's in the Alps. We're all very familiar with France and Italy, and it all feels very close to home. And
you get a lot of wine as well.
Yeah, and then we normally associate the big mountains with the far-flung regions of the world. So we associate the giants of Nepal and, you know, the giants of the Andes and stuff like that. And when you think close to home, you tend not to think that big. But actually, you are still at altitude.
Yeah.
And the distances you've got to cover to go through France, Italy, and Switzerland in a short period is not insignificant. So I do think it's one of them. I had the same thing, really. My learning curve was not with the TMB, but it was with Mount Toubkal.
Yeah, true. And we underestimated that first time.
And it was with the Weekender.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking, like, I've been on some pretty monstrous treks before.
Yeah.
There isn't a trek that's 3 days long that I can't grind my way through.
Yeah.
And I was right, but my God, does the 3-day challenge you. I think going to the summit and back to Imlil in a single day is a really tough ask.
Yeah.
I think it would have been easier if it wasn't for the temperature.
Yeah.
This is another thing, talking about perspective on difficulty and why it's different. So the first time I ever went to Mount Toubkal, unfortunately, I went with this story's, I think I've told it about 1,000 times, but I went there with like a bit of a sinus infection with antibiotics, and I thought to myself, I'll be all right. And I'd never done a big trip on antibiotics before, and I realised that they completely took all the energy away.
A sinus infection?
I did have it, yeah. You wouldn't know, I keep it to myself. And also it was 38 degrees. So I melted and got a bit of heat exhaustion. And I think I got heat exhaustion partly because I've trekked in hot days before and not had it.
Yeah.
I know how to look after myself, but I think when you're overexerting yourself because you've got no energy in that heat, I was donezoed.
Exactly.
But the way back, I remember thinking that was like comparable to the Glencoe Challenge for me mentally.
Just because of where you're at.
Just because where I was at. You know when you're on mile 20 of the Glencoe Challenge and you've got 6 it's not 6. It's more. It's more.
It's
like,
longer than 6. Right? Yeah,
like 7 or 8 miles left
true,
to go.
True.
And you've got like, sometimes you just hit that wall. I hit that wall on the way back to Imlil, and I couldn't believe how long it was. Like I was like, how is this? Why aren't I home yet? I went back and did it the next time.
Yeah.
That was the easiest walk ever. It was
all downhill.
It was a gentle downhill gradient.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I walked down and we were walking up through Imlil, and I was like, this is great. And I remember getting back and thinking, that is the difference between like how we get different reports. Some people come back and say Killy was the hardest thing ever. Other people say I loved Killy, it was great. Some people say like Jerome, TMB was the hardest trip, and everyone's got their opinion, and I always think I wonder if that plays into it sometimes. It's the condition we're in, the fitness we're in, the weather, all of those things.
It adds up, doesn't it? Because I think we always talk about the first time you go to altitude is the first time, essentially. It is, and that's true. Your body can be in different ways. You could be at different levels of, different fitness levels. Also, as well, you might have something going on. I know with me, my asthma kind of does this. So, sometimes I'm fine, sometimes I'm not, but obviously I manage it. And it's one of those things. You don't let it stop you. You still crack on. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's easy. And you just ride that roller coaster of trekking. But no, it's a really good question, actually. I know from Simon around Killy or EBC, which one's difficult. I know it's definitely a broader question around the other trips as well. I did, from Raymond. Can't wait to go with Evertrek to Kilimanjaro next October. Can you recommend an airline to fly with a couple of days before my trek?
That's a really good question. I would say Kilimanjaro, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting some good reports about Ethiopia Airlines.
Getting
some good feedback about them. I think they're quite affordable. Go via Addis Ababa.
Well done.
I've flown there, I think, twice with Qatar Airways. I think the Middle
Emirates.
Eastern Airways tend to work quite well. So Qatar Airways, Emirates. I think there's another big Middle Eastern one. I can never remember the name of.
There is Kuwaiti Airways as well, but I've used them a couple of times. Not the best. Don't use them.
Yeah, I think Qatar, Emirates, Ethiopia Airlines are all...
Turkish are good. I'm not sure if Turkish go to Killy. I know they lots to Nepal.
See,
but majority... You prefer Qatar, didn't you, to Turkish?
I didn't rate Turkish Airlines.
Really?
I didn't. I mean, it was perfectly fine. Like
I quite enjoyed it.
The reason why is because it leaves such a long leg for the second flight.
It's a bit of a wait.
It's like 5 odd hours, and then you've got a 13-hour flight or something like that.
That's part of the adventure, Dave.
Where, you see, for me, if I could teleport to my destination, that'd be great. The actual traveling part of travel, I'm not so keen on. But
it's all part of the journey.
Yeah, but it is part of the journey. That is a fact. It is a part of the journey.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But it's not one that I relish. Like, I don't enjoy sitting on planes and queuing and all that sort of stuff. But I will say the Qatar are pretty good because you pretty much
they are good.
Your shorter trip is at the end. It's shorter by about 2 hours.
It's long initially, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 5.5 hours on the second one.
Yeah.
And about 7.5 on the first one.
Interesting.
For me, that feels like progress. If I do 5 hours and then I got to do 12.
Yeah.
I've gone backwards somehow.
Yeah. Definitely.
So check out Ethiopia Airlines. I've not used them myself, but I have heard they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I think you can get relatively decent rates on business class for them as well, if you want to live it up.
If you're going for it, why not? Why not? Well, look, I know we've been on a while already now, but just kind of round off what we talked about today. And look, thanks for everyone who's been back as well. And apologies, we've been off for a few weeks. I say we'll keep more regular out until Christmas. Next week we do have something awesome as well, and something you may have seen over the last couple of years. We did our Yeti Yuletide Challenge. We did the cold water dips last year. We did the kind of the steps on Stairmaster, just raising money for Brecon Mountain Rescue.
That was a laugh.
That was fun, wasn't it? We got something different this year where all the Yetis are getting involved, and also an opportunity for you guys to get involved as well. So we'll be talking about that next week. But like I said, a little bit of a clue, hashtag in the buff. And again, I'm sure their minds
before you send in any pictures, wait for us to tell
Wait
you.
for us. Especially Dave Ribbington, like we know he's like.
Yeah.
Wait for it, Dave. Let's get you booked in on Mera first, definitely. But no, I hope that's been useful today. I know we've covered talking about different treks and difficulty levels and things like that, and it's great to get your feedback as well on which ones you feel kind of more difficult. And again, it can be where you're at in life. It can be physical. It can be mental. It can be maybe you've got something going on health-wise that makes it difficult. We've all been there. But it's still interesting to hear about those things. And I think Diane mentioned as well around getting some feedback forms and stuff like that. And we are building that in to our post-trip kind of return. So yeah, Diane, thanks so much, mate. And look, especially for my Evertrekker legends, you've obviously been on a lot of trips, and we want to listen to lots of bits because we understand, that look, even though we get the awards and all that, we're not going to rest on our laurels. We continue to develop and improve, and especially your guys' experience as well, because that's why we're here.
Yep.
To give you guys an awesome time, and we hope little things that we kind of bring in can hopefully make a difference for you. Like this over the years. We brought the Tuesday Tune in during COVID, and it's still here, still going. We're definitely planning to keep it. Don't worry. I know we've been off for a while, but we'll definitely be keeping it as part of the mix. Any final thoughts from you, Dave?
I think the one thing I would encourage everybody that kind of has an idea that they want to go on a trip like the ones that we provide is that I wouldn't get too bogged down in the what's right and what's wrong. I would focus more on what works for you, what trip floats your boat, and start there. And if you do have a dream, then to go to Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro or wherever your mind wants to take you, it's 100% achievable. Some trips you've got to put in a little bit more work before you actually board the flight. Some a little less.
Yeah.
But really, it's about what you want to achieve and what you want to get out of the adventure, not so much what the adventure can provide you.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I love Sam's. We love you.
Yeah.
Sam.
What's it? Ask not what you can do for your adventure. No, the other way around. Ask not what your adventure can do for you, but what you can do for your adventure.
JF Kennedy's quote. That's not what your country can do.
I don't think anyone's ever called him JF Kennedy.
Oh, well, John F. Kennedy.
They do JFK or John F. Kennedy. I think JF Kennedy. I like it.
It's just his initials.
Change confirmed, eh?
I can change. But yeah, very. Looks like Dave is sporting an awards ceremony haircut.
I'll be honest with you.
Dave, yeah.
We talk about the hair quite regularly. I'm not feeling this one. I've put in a different wax today, and it's kind of giving me this weird buzz cut.
I think it's like Disney Prince had a makeover.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird and strange, so I'm going to grow it back out again, I think.
We don't want to talk about hair. Anyway, look, great to have you back. We'll see you all next week. Have an amazing time. Don't forget, it is Black Friday. We've got some awesome offers on the moment on the website, so definitely get yourself over. Dave Rivington, I will be in touch. But yeah, all the best and have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.